Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nanotechnology Engineering Program 50-year celebration. So my name is Bo Kui. I'm the professor at the University of Waterloo since year 2008. I'm sure most of you, maybe I would say 80% of you know me because I taught you microfabrication and nanofabrication courses in the past 11 years. So I'm the associate director for the Nanotechnology Engineering Program starting this September. So today I will be the moderator. I will moderate this panel discussion. So here I would like to give an update for the nanotechnology program. Can somebody show the slide? Okay. So first, the nanotechnology program is just accredited this summer and approved for another 6 years. So this is the best situation so one can get for the program. 6 years is the best. Secondly, so if you graduated earlier from the AE program, so the AE now moved to the QC building since year 2013. And third, so technical elective courses is now started in 3B. So in the past, all the 3B courses was core courses, but not since about 3 or 4 years ago. So only one core course for the 3B. That is the modeling course. So all the other courses is technical elective, including the course that I teach, nanofabrication. Now it is a TE course. And also, student is now allowed to take courses from other departments, up to 4 courses from other department other than AE program, and electronic circuit and programming, Python programming courses are offered now in the first year. So I know this had been the student had been asking for this since many years ago, but this become now is the case. So we have now the first year electronic circuit and programming course. Go to the next slide. Okay, so now the AE now has labs. So AE 100 introduction to nanotechnology engineering, so now has lab. So the students learn CAD and SolidWorks and with lab skills. So we have about 6 3D printers. So with 3 of them funded from the donation by the AE alumni. So such note for AE alumni who have donated to help purchase the 3D printers. Next, so the AE student can now team up with the students from other program for their 4th year design project. And the work term report is now graded and included in the student average to value the report. Lastly, and next, so there are a few new AE labs, including microphysics design and creation for biosensor and battery materials design. The next slide. So we bought quite a few new lab equipment, so including 2 atomic force microscope, so 1 dynamic light scattering, the battery testing equipment, 7 UV visible spectrometer, PCR and gel electrophoresis, Nicoya Open SPR. SPR is the surface plasma resonance for the biosensor and the million machine. And lastly, now we have since year 2019, so we have the nano design days. For the students, they will design and test scanning tunneling microscope. So now for this event, so we have 4 panelists. They are Ryan, Veronica, Vinay, and Mina. Can you introduce yourself one by one? The order is Ryan, Veronica, Vinay, and Mina. So you can spend a few minutes to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks so much, Bo. Definitely really excited to be able to be on the panel today. I'm Ryan. I graduated from the 2010 cohort of the Nanotechnology Engineering class. So I'm the OG nanotech engineer grad here. So after I finished my undergrad degree at Waterloo, I stayed there and I did my master's in basically optical biosensing in Patricia Nieva's lab. And this led me to spin out a company called Nicoya in 2012, of which I'm the CEO of. So the research that I did at University of Waterloo, both in undergrad and then in my master's, really became the foundational technology that went into our first product, which is an instrument called OpenSPR that Bo mentioned briefly, actually. And it helps scientists to understand drug interactions with their targets and helps them to develop new therapies. So we launched this first product in 2015, and we had a lot of success with it. And as a result, we've been able to raise, quite substantial amounts of venture capital money and government funding. We've grown from just one person to 70 people, brought on some really talented people, including 7 or 8 nanotechnology engineers, and we're still continuing to hire. So please check out our careers page if you're interested. Nicoya is located in Kitchener. It's downtown. We've got a 20,000 square foot office, lab, and manufacturing space, and that's also where I live. Not in the office, but in downtown Kitchener. Cool, thanks.
I think I was second in the order. My name is Veronica. I was in the second class of 2011 for nanotechnology. After graduating, I went directly to law school. I went to the University of Ottawa, which was a big change. But I had the advantage of considering it during nano and doing a co-op at a firm as well. And I ended up, after law school, practicing in the area of intellectual property, specifically in litigation. So it made a lot of sense with my technical background. I worked at a large international firm in Ottawa for approximately 3 years after graduating law school. And now I'm based downtown Toronto at a litigation-specific firm, still working primarily in patent litigation as well as other areas of intellectual property.
Okay, thank you. Vinay?
Yep. Hi, I'm Vinay, and I'm the third generation of Nano. I graduated in 2012. After graduating, I did work with a startup for about a year. They were in the education space, and then I started working for a marketing agency as an analyst, and now I lead data analysis for Inkbox, which is a temporary tattoo company.
All right, great. I guess that leaves me. To continue the theme, I'm V4 of the nanotech program. I was in the 2013 class. Unlike the 3 panels before me, I actually got to use the QNC for a little bit. Since then, right after graduation, I got a job working as a process engineer for a company called Angstrom Engineering. You may have seen some of our equipment, some of their equipment on campus, making PVD equipment. So really got to use my nanotech experience or nanotechnology firsthand there. But after 6 years, so coming up to last summer, I decided to leave that career behind and go pursue my MBA. So I'm in my 2nd year of my MBA program right now, and now I'm looking post-grad next year, joining a management consulting firm. So doing a bit of a pivot from engineering, but still keeping that engineering problem-solving mind at heart.
Okay, so thank you everybody for the introduction. So now I would like to ask a few questions to the panelists. The first question I want to ask Veronica, and others can follow her answer. So Veronica, so how did you decide on a nanotechnology engineering program?
This is going way back. So entering, I guess, applications for university out of high school, I guess I just couldn't decide. I mean, I was very interested in chemistry. I knew I definitely didn't want to just do pure sciences. I wanted to be designing things. So engineering seemed like a logical option. But even between all the different types of engineering, I really couldn't choose what I wanted to specialize in. Nanotechnology definitely marketed itself at the time, and I still think really is a multidisciplinary program. So that's really what attracted me at the time, to really not have to make a choice early on and be able to learn a variety of things and the fundamentals of chemistry, physics, electrical engineering, chemical engineering. So that's really what originally attracted me to the nano program.
Okay, I see. So it became very interdisciplinary. So other panelists, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say it was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Ryan, you can go ahead. Ryan, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I totally agree with Veronica, and I think it's clear that if you look at the careers of the panelists even here today, it's so diverse, and we're in so many different areas that that is sort of the thing that also attracted me to the nanotech program. It was also just such a unique offering, and usually with something that's that unique, there's like an outsized upside opportunity as well. And so that's kind of one of the reasons I was so interested in it, because I did think that there was sort of a big potential for the future of the field, and would give me a lot of opportunity and to go into different areas. And yeah, it's definitely a bit of a risk when you make that kind of decision, but like I said, I thought there was a good enough upside. So
okay, thank you. Amina?
Yeah, I mean, what decision can you make when you're 17 that you really fully reasoned out, right? But for sure, back then, my family has two other engineers in it, my father and my brother, and I saw the value of engineering, but at the same time knew that I didn't want to venture down the beaten path. And so maybe a little bit naive of me, but seeing nanotechnology as the next big wave forward was something that really attracted me. And maybe we were a little bit early to the game, but then we've got people like Ryan who are leading the good fight and making nanotechnology just more around us everywhere, and creating more opportunities for the new graduates now too.
Okay, thank you. So Vinay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say it was similar to the other three. I was mostly looking to do like math and science, and I felt nanotech engineering would be a good place to have, like just a bit of math, bit of science, bit of biology, and like all the disciplines.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So now I would like to ask the second question. So what's your favorite part of the nanotechnology engineering, or your favorite time on campus? So Ryan, can you go first?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most memorable parts, at least, of my experience there was just being in such a intellectually driven and diverse environment. Just like, the people not only that are in your class, but also just in the broader UW community, there's like this crazy amount of intelligence and drive and passion. And I think that is such a unique thing to experience. And, I definitely remember thinking about that at the time, but even looking back on it now, you just, reflect on, the type of people you met, the type of research you got to participate in. And it's pretty incredible being able to experience that when you're at such a young age. Like, a lot of people don't get that experience for a long time. So definitely, I think, is a very good way to kind of shape people in the nanotechnology engineering program. I really found that motivating, and definitely, I would say like allowed me to more like lean into my passions as well. So yeah, I think like that was a really memorable part of my experience there, and definitely one of my favorites. Either that or Bomber Wednesdays. I don't know. It's a pretty close call between the two.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So other people, do you have anything to add?
I'll jump in here. On the spirit of the community of Waterloo. For me, one of the big highlights for me was doing orientation week every year. As a first year, I was an international student too, and I moved to Waterloo, and I've been in Canada for 2 weeks at the time, and so just getting thrown into that community and making a lot of friends and seeing what it's all about just made me want to give back every other year. And just the friendships that I've made with people where we can showcase our creativity, but still have that. And then now we talk engineering and other things with a lot of those people that I got to share that experience with. So yeah, like on the non-educational side, for me, that was a huge highlight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so for the Waterloo engineer, so you have the cohort throughout the 5 years. That's the best thing you can have. I know for other universities, they don't have this cohort. They take classes with different students, but for you, you have the cohort, so you have the long-term friend. So other Veronica or Vinny, do you have anything to add for this question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I totally agree with what Mina and Ryan said. And the highlight for me really had to be the people. The people I graduated with in the 2011 class are great. There isn't anyone who still doesn't continue to inspire me. Like, the energy and the drive within the group was really great. Not just in terms of like their individual goals and their inspirations and their goals, but their like the collaboration too. And I've heard the same thing from different graduating years as well, and different programs across Waterloo. I mean, everyone's there to work hard and play hard, but I think everyone also realizes that, you know, this isn't a game you're playing by yourself. Like, you need to work with other people, and you can really feed off each other. So, I mean, that's got to be the highlight of my time at Waterloo. Like, those 5 years, they were stressful. They were a lot of work, but it was nice to meet these people who are still doing so much, and including the professors who were extremely supportive too of our absolutely crazy ideas and overachieving ideas for even fourth year design projects. So it's nice to see that being encouraged amongst peers and with the professors as well.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be the advisor of your fourth year design project. I know your team is very special. So your team, all of you got a PhD now. So you go to the University of Ottawa for the PhD in the law, and another one, University of Ottawa for the PhD, medical PhD. One goes to Stanford, PhD, another one goes to Yale, also PhD.
Yeah, they're a pretty hardcore group.
Dream team.
A PhD team, yeah. Others, do you have anything to add?
No.
No? Okay. So now we go to the third question. So this question goes to Mina. So why did you decide to complete your MBA after working in the traditional engineering job?
So to kind of feed off of something that the other panelists have said, is that nanotech is something that's very multidisciplinary, and something that I really took to heart throughout the program and then after working is just how valuable the engineering mindset is when you're approaching complex problems. And so you can bring in all these different elements from different areas to combine together. After several years working as an engineer, it was a bit of a crossroads. Is that, did I want to continue down the path on a technical side, in which case I felt like I probably would want to go back and do a master's or a PhD or something like that, or I could pivot and go more on the big picture business strategy side. And so, being the engineer, I needed to find some new tools to add to my toolbox. So that's what brought me into the MBA, and moving forward, using that same engineer's mindset, but with a new set of tools, and even relying on some of my old knowledge as well, going into helping businesses, be more successful and solve some of the problems that they're facing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So next question goes to Veronica. So how did you decide on the law school, and is your role tied to the nanotechnology as the IP lawyer?
So how did I decide on law school? I think it's something I'd been considering back in high school, but really kind of wanted to explore engineering first. And then because of Waterloo's co-op program, actually, I had a variety of experiences, either in academic research and industry, but then I also took the opportunity to go to a law firm and work with some patent lawyers and agents there. And I realized that might be a good fit. It could use my technical background as well as like some of my other strengths, which is included writing, oral argument, etc. It's definitely a niche area, but if you have these different types of aptitudes that you want to draw from, it really made sense for me.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So how do you work right now? It's very busy work. You work many hours a day.
Yeah, it's always up and down. I mean, especially with litigation, if you're in trial, it's just you're working 24 hours. We did one of the federal court's first Zoom trials. Like, the entire thing went remotely over Zoom earlier this year, and a lot of other court cases have followed since. So that was a pretty unique experience. A lot of work and a lot of preparation, and changing your advocacy style to really kind of fit an online platform. So that was a bit of innovative thinking required.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So next question go to Ryan. So why did you decide to start Nicoya Life Science? What advice you can have for other entrepreneurs starting out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is like pretty simple. I think I just didn't really want to work for anybody else. I really wanted to like be my own boss and just kind of like be responsible for the success or the failure of the company. Also at the time, there wasn't like a ton of career opportunities out there that were really interesting or exciting to me that could use my skills or the things I learned during my undergrad and master's. So I had some job offers, but I wasn't like excited about them. They definitely just seemed sort of like jobs to me. They didn't really seem like they would be like a career that I'd really enjoy. And so you just kind of, timing worked out well when I was finishing my master's. There happened to be a program that was just launching through FedDev, which is like just a government funding agency for innovation, and the University of Waterloo. So they partnered on a $60,000 fellowship for STEM grads who wanted to go into entrepreneurship. So that was kind of happening like, right when I graduated. So it just happened that the timing worked out well, and I applied to that and was able to get the $60,000 grant. And that was really the start of Nicoya. And I think I was really passionate about the technology. I wanted to try and, apply it to a real world problem and like try and have a positive impact. And I thought that was the best way I could do something like that. But starting is probably, starting is definitely hard. It takes some courage. You gotta be ready to take some risk. But I think continuing on is definitely even harder than making that initial choice. I've been doing this for over 8 years now. Definitely had a lot of challenges, a lot of stress, a lot of times where I want to quit. But I kept going, and I keep doing it, and I still love what I'm doing every day. Really because of the team and the people at Nicoya. Really, really passionate group of people, extremely hardworking, intelligent. A lot of them, a lot of the nanotech grads and other technical and engineering grads we have are, continue to kind of carry on, I think, the expectations and traditions of, what we see coming out of the UW program. So it's just been a great experience to be able to like actually work with a team that's so high functioning as we have at Nicoya. In terms of, like advice for entrepreneurs who might be wanting to start their own company, definitely don't be afraid of failure or, looking dumb or asking dumb questions. I mean, like you've probably never started a company before, so it's totally fine that you would have a lot of these questions and you wouldn't really know the answers to some basic things. But at the end of the day, like even if you don't really know that much about business, just have confidence in what you're doing and have confidence in yourself and bet on yourself and don't doubt that. But also, it's not for everybody. You really need to take a hard look at yourself and what you want in life and see if entrepreneurship is the right path for you. Like, don't kid yourself. It's probably going to be 10 years of like extremely hard work, at least, if not longer. And out of that, probably, 5 years of that, you'll be unsure if you're even succeeding or failing. So definitely it's a long haul. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So don't go into it thinking that, in 2 years, you're just going to build this amazing company and sell it for billions of dollars and retire. It's definitely not realistic. So that's some of my advice that I would have to anyone thinking about starting out.
Okay, thank you. So I think Nicoya Life Science has hired many AE co-op students, right?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've had lots of co-op students. We've had
AE students with other students of other programs. Are they very good?
Well, yeah, the nanotech students are obviously the best. I mean, I'm super biased towards that, but no, but we've actually had a number of co-op students come back and now work for us full time, which is the whole idea behind co-op really in the first place. And it's really cool to see it actually happening in reality. So we call those boomerang employees. So they came and then they left and then they come back again. So we've got a nice little group of boomerangs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next question goes to Vinay. So how do you leverage your non-education for a career in the data analytics?
Yeah, so I would say one of the things that helped me a lot was the co-op program in Waterloo. So I was very fortunate with the opportunities I had in co-op. So my first co-op was at Facebook when they were relatively small compared to today. And that's where I learned a lot of the analytics and like how to do marketing analytics, like user analytics, user growth. And at the time it was like not very many companies were focusing on that, and Facebook was one of the first companies to really like focus on growth and getting a lot of users to use their product. So that really helped me a lot. And then the next two co-ops, I did theoretical research in Japan, and then I did experimental research at Harvard. And at the time, I was like, oh, I want to do a PhD. So I was happy that I got a chance to do the research co-ops. But after I did them, I realized, I like research, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a PhD. And so I decided to just go in the workforce and work in data analytics, which I enjoyed doing while I was at Facebook. And yeah, I would agree a lot with what Ryan said. I think it's important to try different things. And for Ryan, for example, it worked out. Or it seems like it's worked out well for him to start his own company. But I also think it's okay if you start your own company and it doesn't work out. You can always go back to school, right? You can always go back and get a job as well. So that's always something to keep in mind.
Okay, so is it a lot of fun to work in a tattoo company? Is it a lot of fun to work in a tattoo company like Inkbox?
Is there a lot of, sorry, say that again?
A lot of fun to work in a tattoo company.
Oh yeah, so yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, working at Inkbox is actually quite a lot of fun. So right now we're only about maybe 50 to 100 employees, and we're relatively small. So part of the attraction I had for Inkbox was like I really want to work for a small company and help it grow, and so we have a chance to potentially grow a lot over the next few years. I mean, yeah, there's no like guarantee, right? Like we're still like a Series A like company, so in a couple of years we could be doing really well, or we could not exist. Like that's the world of startups, but it's a lot of fun, and I think like as a company we're all aligned on where we want to go, and so yeah, it's a good opportunity for me to like lead the analytics and like pave the way there. And yeah, like I said, like if it doesn't work out, I can always go back to doing another job, exploring like another career opportunity.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is, so did you expect to be working in your field when you came to Waterloo, and how did your education impacted your career? So Mina, could you answer first?
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting question because I honestly don't even know what I expected going in. I'm not a very long 10, 15, 20-year plan type of person. When I joined the nanotech program, I had dreams of being on the side of cutting edge research and doing a lot of things, but I still took it day by day. And sure enough, when I graduated, I was super lucky to get a role where I was working to enable that cutting edge research. I wasn't doing the research myself, but I was working with scientists and engineers all over the world to bring in the next wave of technology, the next wave of all these other things. And now I'm in sort of uncharted territory for what I expected for myself right now. And it's the education at Waterloo in terms of just preparing me for the future, building some good habits, and as Ryan was saying before, just being surrounded by so many high impact driven people is just set a standard for me to always try to be better than where I'm at right now. And that's something that I hope to take with me in the future as I enter probably some even more really competitive fields in the world, not just in engineering but in business, and that's something that I will take with me, and I'm just really excited for what's next.
Okay, thank you. So other panel speakers, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say like, I mean, like when you're 17, 18, like you have a different idea of what undergrad is or like what careers are. So yeah, I would just say like maybe like what I wanted to do at 18 wasn't the same thing that I wanted to do at 23, and it's definitely not the same thing that I want to do at 30. And so yeah, it's just like I think it's important to know that your your passion or your the thing that you really want to do can actually change with time. And yeah, it's okay to try different things and switch around if you feel like, if you, let's say you started doing a PhD and you're like, hey, I have a few friends who started doing a PhD and they took some time off to pursue their other interests, and then they went back to like finish their PhD. So yeah, it's just like always like keep your options open. There's always, you can do anything you want, right?
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, totally agree with that. You can have many different careers. You don't have to stick to one specific thing or where you are now. I think as many of us, have experienced, I've had the same title for 8 years, but I can definitely tell you I've had probably like 8 to 10 sort of mini careers within that, whether it's, doing hardcore like engineering or product development, whether it's in sales and like going out and, selling the product, whether it's designing marketing campaigns, doing finance and payroll, there's really no shortage of different things that like I got to do in my role, which was super, super fun. And so I think that's a great piece of advice from Vinay. It's just like, yeah, even if you aren't doing what you expect right now, there's probably some really great things you can learn from it and apply to something else when you decide, that's the thing you really want to do. And the education, I think, is just like a foundation for that, and enables you, like gives you the opportunity to be able to go in a whole bunch of different areas. And so for me, I mean, like I didn't have really, I guess my expectation was that yes, I would be working in my field. That's what I was told anyway. But even though now I'm not like super, super deep on the engineering side, we have like some really great leaders that take care of a lot of that for me. Like I still read journal articles like every day or every other day and just like, peruse through things and keep myself up to date on the field and think about new ideas all the time. So even though it's been a while and like 90% of my job isn't involving engineering, I still use my background almost every day.
Okay, thank you. So Veronica, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think answering the original question, like, no, I did not expect to be working where I am and what I'm doing right now when I was in Waterloo. But to, I guess, piggyback off what the other panelists have said, it's really about keeping an open mind. And I think if I were to talk to my version of me 10 years ago, I'd probably tell myself, like, you'd be surprised as to how much you're gonna just stumble from place to place, not quite knowing what's next. And that's totally okay as long as you keep an open mind, kind of have an idea of what your strengths are and what the opportunities are in front of you, and work with them. And I think by doing that, you kind of, one, find out a lot about yourself and what you're capable of doing, to challenge yourself a lot. And also, you don't tunnel vision on something that might not be really right for you. So I think if you keep an open mind, you'll better be able to assess the opportunities that kind of come your way, and that following that can be fairly rewarding as well.
Okay, thank you. The last question. So how have you seen in the field of nanotechnology change over the last 10 years? So Vinay, can you go first?
Sure. Yeah, I think the other three panelists are probably better suited to answer this. But I've, a lot of my friends in nano, like they went on to do a PhD or go to med school, so they're still very much involved in the nano field. And yeah, I think what I've noticed in the last 10 years is there's just a lot more opportunity, right? Like biology has grown so much in the last 20 years, 10 years. And so there's just a lot more work being done. And I think, yeah, like more and more people know what nanotech is now. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So other people, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, like I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Like Vinay's answer was pretty spot on. It's nanotech is just working its way out from the lab into a lot of industries, and I mean, it's also just a lot more visible, and it's starting to impact other sectors, other industries a lot more than what we see around here. I mean, just the other day, a friend of mine from business school, his co-op job was with a solar cell company, and then he gave me a call. He's like, "Can you explain the difference between polysilicon and like monocrystalline?" And I was just, "Oh, sure." Like that's a bit of a throwback for me, but and it's like being able to have those nanotech conversations in the context of like not R&D was actually really like a really refreshing change from what I was doing before. So that sort of going forward, I think that's just the trend. Like it's going to become in the common lexicon in business, in everyday products. People are just going to see more and more things around them that are enabled by nanotechnology.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we're facing like some of generationally the hardest problems we've faced in so long. And Larry Smith talked about a couple of these things in his talk, but looking at the COVID-19 epidemic, we've got crazy amounts of progress being made in such a short period of time towards like vaccines and just basic research understanding of the virus, like the sequencing, the diagnostics, a lot of innovations in CRISPR and these other areas. And this is all enabled by nanotechnology, and really, taken from a lab-based research setting and brought into, the application world by nanotechnology engineering, whether or not, the people are identifying as that in their careers or not. Anyone that has that background is perfectly suited to contribute to the solutions to these problems. And I think there's no question that without the field of nanotechnology advancing as much as it has in the last 15 years, we would be in a very different place in biotechnology, and specifically with COVID-19, as well as in energy, looking at all the advances companies like Tesla have made in battery technology. I mean, there's so much nanotechnology involved with the battery evolution over the last 5 to 10 years. And so I think nanotechnology is so well positioned to solve these huge problems, and people are like really starting to care about this now. When I started Nicoya, most people were focused on software companies and funding, SaaS businesses and social media companies, and there's totally a place for all that, and any company in that space that's successful, that's great. But now we're definitely seeing a transition towards supporting and funding and building like deep tech companies to solve huge real world problems. And I think anyone with a nanotech background is just in such a great opportunity to contribute to that.
Okay, thank you. Veronica, do you have anything to add?
No, not entirely. I think the other three panelists really covered it. Really great to hear that from your perspective, Ryan, that people are really more investing in the solutions that we really need right now. And I completely agree. So from the people, I get to interact with a lot of really prestigious and great researchers, and it's the same thing. They all kind of share that view that this is kind of the next step, and hopefully will help contribute to some of the better technological solutions we're going to see in the next few years.
Yes, another big thing I think is for the IC manufacturing industry. So about 10 years ago, so people said that the Moore's law will no longer continue, but now today we have 5 nanometer node, and in a few years there will be 3 nanometer node. So you see the nano, they are really going to the single-digit nanometer scale even for the microprocessor.
That's totally crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay, thank you everybody. So now we can answer some questions from the audience.
Hi.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself a little bit? And
yeah, so I'm the events coordinator here for the Faculty of Engineering, streaming live from E7. And yeah, thank you to all our panelists for that great discussion. We'll just go to the comments now. So if anybody has any questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll get to them. Our first question comes from Nabil Farouk. He says, "Hello, Nanos. Good to see Professor Bo Chui after all these years. My question is, how has the availability of nano-specific co-op jobs improved over the last several years?" He's a 2012 grad.
Okay, so for the co-op job, there has been a lot of change. So nowadays, even with the COVID, so we have about 80% of employment. And I think the AE director, they have the AE director, particular Professor Shirley Tang, so she has done a great job to promote the AE jobs. And I know at 1 year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, at one stream, they have 7 students going to Apple to do at the same time, 7 students at the same time go to Apple to do the co-op job. And another trend, in the past, there are lots of people doing research, but now more and more people go to the industry. So I think 10 years ago, we have 50% of the students going to grad school, 50% go to the company to work. But now the graduate school is about 30%. The other 70%, they all find industry jobs. But the jobs, they are not always in the nanotechnology. I know more than 10%, they find a job like software. But mostly they find a job, but not all in the nano field.
Does anybody else, I guess, have anything to add to that? Maybe, no?
Well, I mean, Ryan's one of the pure examples of people that have come up that have now created more nano jobs for co-ops, I'd say.
Yeah. And there's definitely some other companies too that I know, locally that have also, come out of nanotech and been able to hire a number of co-op students doing, a lot of cool stuff in material science or diagnostics. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to generate additional co-op jobs, and the more startups and more companies that we build with the background there that has the connection to the Waterloo engineering program and specifically nanotech, it's going to help more and more in the future.
Yeah, and I think sort of KW is starting to become a bit of that kind of hub, and extending into Toronto as well, and some areas in Montreal, Ottawa. There's a lot of stuff that's spinning off from just being pure research into starting to go with startup and beyond. So
yeah, absolutely,
big change in the last 10 years.
Yeah, some good quantum stuff happening too, which is obviously like really cool connections between quantum, nano, and AI and stuff. I think that'll be a big source of co-op jobs too that nanos would be a good fit for.
Yeah, and I guess this isn't nano specific, but I remember when I was interning at Facebook, there was only like 7 or 8 Waterloo students. And then after that, like they started just getting more and more Waterloo students. So I know like Waterloo as a school has been like really highly regarded, at least in like a lot of the big US companies. And so I'm assuming that even like after I graduated, that they probably like hired more and more co-ops from Waterloo. So it's probably spread across all the other fields as well.
Yeah, true.
Okay, our next question is from Kyle Donner. How do you see the nanotechnology program evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh,
it's a long time period.
Actually, there is no. I think every discipline they will improve. For example, you see that the battery is the battery. So 5 years ago, you charge the cell phone, take you maybe overnight to charge the cell phone, but nowadays you can charge your cell phone in like 10 minutes. We also talk about the IC, integrated circuit. They also shrinking all the time, and the cameras and the cameras in the phone. Now they use lots of MEMS technology for the phone. And all the fields, they have not something totally new, but they keep improving all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hope that there'll be a continued focus on like a lot of real world applications of nanotechnology, and I think I think the program's done a good job continuing to evolve over time, and I think that's definitely something to continue to strive for, is showing how you can take the things that you're learning in class and apply them to real world problems. And that's definitely always been, I think, a bit of a struggle for nanotech compared to other programs that have a little bit more like tangible, translation between the theory and the practice. So I think, that is something that is easier to do now. We have more and more real world applications and examples of where nanotech is being applied.
Yeah.
We'll go on to our next question then. So if you were to go back to when you were a student, what advice would you give yourself? I don't know if you can hear the students in the background. It's a busy place even during COVID, apparently.
Yeah,
So-
I guess what I
Yeah, go
would.
ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So
No,
Mina,
I was going to repeat the question in case you didn't
Mina,
hear it.
you can go first. Mina,
Oh,
you can go
sure.
first.
Okay. Well, I guess first I'll preface say like there were no regrets. There were no regrets in terms of my time at Waterloo. I would say for me, one thing that I didn't fully appreciate were just how the caliber of the professors and the classes and just the academic side. I could say I was maybe a little bit immature when I went to when I was at Waterloo. I mean, I like to think relative to where I am now, and maybe had a little bit too much fun in some places, but I wouldn't take that back. But for sure, really realizing all that the school had to offer in terms of all the experiences, both in and out of the classroom, even outside the engineering bubble. So I think Waterloo Engineering does a really good job of creating a community within engineering, but starting to explore outside of that as well, I think would have been something I think I would have benefited from, those years ago.
Okay. Anybody to add? So maybe I can say something. So what I feel, I got my undergrad degree 1994. So what I see is that what I learned during my undergrad study is the most solid. So I have a background in physics, and even today I'm very good at physics. So later on, because of my career, I need to learn some chemistry and biology. I learned by myself by reading books, but I don't learn them really well. So the only thing you learn really well, I think, is your undergrad study. So if you are a student, you should spend good time to study hard. So this is my advice as a professor.
Yeah, I think, I definitely feel like I spent a little too much time studying. Like, I wish I would have done, explored a few other opportunities that were there, when I was in undergrad. And you're in such a cool environment. There's so much opportunity to learn things outside of like your core program. And so I think if I could go back, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't regret anything. I'm totally, like Mina said, I'm really happy with how how my undergrad experience went. But I do wish I would have explored a little bit more kind of outside of the core aspects of nanotech specifically.
That's okay. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I echo that as well. And it's kind of nice to see, as you said earlier, Bo, that for the fourth year design projects, people are now able to like go outside of nano. I think that's pretty cool, and can kind of help with what Ryan was saying with trying to get outside the program, meet other people, and maybe get outside of your books a little bit. Definitely the people around were, as I said earlier, a really good resource, and that's definitely something I'd wish I'd spent a little more time with as well.
Yeah, I would say, I wish I would have taken more risks, like just like working on other projects or or just expanding outside of what I was taking in class. So I was really lucky with the co-ops, the way it worked out for me. But yeah, just like taking more risks and like Ryan said and Mina said and Veronica said, but you can always like go back to school. You can always, failing is actually like, it just seems like really daunting. Like I think at the time, like failing would have been like the worst thing in the world for me. But now that I look back, it's just like, it's actually not that bad. Like if you try something and you fail, it's maybe like 4 months, 6 months. Like if you even think of like a co-op term that you didn't like, well, it was just like 4 months, maybe 8 months. So it's not like a huge period. And yeah, you can always, the downside of the risk is not as bad as you might think it is. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. So I think that's it for questions. Maybe just a follow-up question, Bo, to something you said earlier. Let's say I was a nano student. How would, and deciding whether to take like graduate school or not, how would you decide like whether to go into the workforce or to take more education? Like, what would you say to a student who would be asking something like that?
I think if you like research, you should go to the grad school. And some people, different people, they have different interests. If you like research, doing research, then the grad school is the best place. So otherwise, maybe you go to work. But one thing I can say is that so the nanotechnology program is the best program to prepare students for the grad school, because when you do research, you need to know many different things. But if you study nano, you usually know many different fields. So this prepare you well for the grad school.
Okay. Sorry, some more questions actually did come in. So what other roles did you consider working in?
Like what? This question
other jobs, I guess, other venues,
for
career
me,
path for everybody. Yeah.
For me, it's simple. In China, I'm from China. So in China, the education knowledge is very much valued. That's why for me, I just go to the research, and this is what I like. It's simple for me. Simple question for me.
Yeah, I was really close to doing a PhD after, but decided to just do a master's first instead, and kind of spend that time to really like explore my interests more, and really do things that I kind of referred to earlier, like do things that I wish I would have done in undergrad to like help me figure out what I wanted to do for my career. And so I didn't want to commit to a PhD at that point, just because I wasn't totally sure if I wanted to stay in research for the rest of my career. So that's definitely something I considered really seriously. If I would have went that road, I don't think it would have been like a bad thing at all. It would have been different, very different. But yeah, that was one thing I definitely considered.
Yeah, similarly for me, I came in with the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed idea of being a researcher, developing new materials, new products, and I was fortunate to have a few different research co-op terms while I was at Waterloo, and I found that I liked the time in the lab, but just research wasn't for me, and so that sort of in my mind closed the door into going into grad school, especially in the engineering world, and then beyond that, once I kind of got my hands dirty, I realized I really had a strength in bringing engineering to the people, let's say, and bridging those two sides of my personality, and bringing more people into the process. And so that's kind of what brought me to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off what Mina just said, like really in undergrad, you don't kind of realize like everything is at your fingertips. Like just try everything. Even if you don't think you'll really like it, just if the opportunity is there and you have the time and there's something you're interested in, just give it a try, because it's only by doing that you're going to really figure out what your strengths are, where your interests really lie, and from that you just kind of develop a gut feeling. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to follow that and kind of guide yourself into like making those decisions that seem really daunting, but really like yourself at the end of the day. And kind of what Ryan was saying before, like you have to know whether something is for you, whether it's entrepreneurship or law school or switching careers into an MBA or data analytics. Like it's all something that you kind of gain from experience. So just try absolutely whatever opportunities that you can, like really like throw yourself into it. And I think that way you kind of really figure out what you really like.
Yeah, I think the other important thing for people to remember is that there are lots of technical roles that aren't like pure research and that don't require a graduate degree. Anything from like an application scientist or like a sales application scientist, technical sales, customer success or customer support in a technical environment. There are tons of opportunities that you can still flex that muscle and not require an advanced degree to do, and it gives you just so much opportunity, because you can start in a career and kind of master something and then decide where you want to go from there. Maybe you do want to go into a bit more of a research role. Maybe you want to go into a totally non-technical role. I think it's important to find a company that you really enjoy working for, and you really like their mission really aligns with you and the culture is a great fit for you. Because of that, if you find that, then I think you have a lot of opportunities within those specific companies to try different things.
Okay, so just one last question. What career advice would you give someone who's graduating now, and like maybe also in the light of, what the employment is like right now, you know, in the COVID world and everything.
Yeah, I would say I felt like when I was looking for jobs, like even in co-op and outside of co-op, like after I graduated, I think I was initially like way too picky. And so I would say probably, especially at a time like this, it's probably not a great idea to be super picky. And I think, you know, like if you can always, like, the great thing about working is you can always leave, right? So it's much harder to like leave med school or leave a PhD, but it's a lot easier to leave work. So you can always leave after a year or 2 years if you really don't like it. But yeah, I would say like just apply as much as you can, and like it's your first job. It's, you know, sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. But yeah, like the downside to, again, a bad job, it's not as bad as you think it is. And yeah, you can always leave and like pursue like another job in a couple of years.
Yeah, my advice would be like really use your network. Most people we've hired, it's been through a referral from somebody that's already working for Nicoya, or, you know, a colleague or a peer that recommends somebody. So definitely like lean on your network really hard. And also, like, don't be afraid to be a bit aggressive. Like, you know, if there's a job posting up and you apply to it, also, you know, go on LinkedIn and find who might be the hiring managers or who might be involved with that hiring process and message them on LinkedIn, and then maybe also send them an email. These things, you know, this is not like unexpected, and you want to make sure that you stand out. You know, when I get like a message or an email from somebody that's interested in a role at Nicoya, even if I'm not the hiring manager, I usually will take a quick look at that. And if I think it could be a good fit, I will pass it and flag it to the hiring manager. So it's not like these things just always go into, you know, a black hole. It's definitely worth the effort. So make sure you are getting creative and putting in some of that extra effort, especially in times like these.
Yeah, I would say you'd even take it one step further, or, you know, maybe one step back, depending on how you look at it, is use your network to broaden your horizon too. So, you know, instead of, you know, staying on, you know, this is the type of role that I think I want, use your network to reach out to people that are doing different things. And before you even get to the point where you're applying to jobs, just get a really good idea of what else is out there, what other people are doing. And then you can use that to leverage, you know, those connections as well. But, you know, don't put yourself in a box, because, you know, if you do that, then it makes it easier for other people to do that to you. So, you know, just really step outside of that and really think, you know, at my core, what are my skills? What's my value? And what can I bring to other people?
Yeah, definitely agree with 3 panelists. The only other thing I'd add is not only like talk to people as much as you can, but also like, especially if like you're out of school, then like stay sharp, like stay up to date with all the changes in the industry. If you're interested in research, like make sure you're still reading the papers and staying on top of what's hot in research, and like maybe even make little mini projects for yourself where you're either trying to create a profile by discussing certain topics or blogging about new research. Like it's also like through those type of creative endeavors that kind of keep you up to date. That's how you become top of mind with other people that are in your own network and also outside of that. So it's a good way to kind of keep yourself sharp, but also network in a way which is not just picking up the phone and trying to call people and setting up Zoom and or coffee dates.
It's a great point.
Okay, yeah, that does it for questions. So thanks again to all our panelists and Bo for moderating the questions and answering some. And hopefully everyone who attended, thanks for coming, and hopefully your questions were answered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.